Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to another cleaning and restoring. This one we'll be doing the Nintendo 64. I will also, if you notice, mine has like parts that are red to it. I did not buy it like this, I made it look like this. It does take a little bit of like extra effort and love towards your N64, but if you want to do it, I'll show you how to do it in this video. Warning, you probably will be decreasing the value of your console if you do make parts different colors, but I personally think it's cool, and I don't want to get rid of this thing anytime soon. So I thought, why not? So before you do anything, make sure your power is off, and make sure it's not hooked up to either the AV cords or a power supply. If you see the two blue lines on the side right here, that's just me knowing where you guys can and can't see, so I don't like put something over here thinking that you can see it. So also, my dad's working. I'm in my basement, and my dad's working right next door. So if you hear like a loud slam or something, then that's probably just my dad. Yeah. The first thing you're gonna want to do is take out anything in the memory unit spot, and take all the pieces that you're gonna want to paint, like this one, for example, and put them aside. I'll tell you what to do with them later. So the first thing you're gonna want to do is take out anything in here, whether it's an expansion pack or just a regular jumper pack. Take it out and set those things aside. You're not gonna need them. Alright, so then you're going to flip your console over, and you're going to need you can take this little flappy thing off too. And before I go any further, let me tell you, you will need a special type of screwdriver called a game bit screwdriver. They're really hard to find, and these screws are really hard to get out. But there's 6 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they all take this special type of screw. And you'll notice this is scratched off, and I'll explain why later. So, after you take out all those screws, then you can take apart your console in halves. Alright, I've taken all of these screws out, so once you've taken all 6 of those fancy screws out, you'll have 4 pieces that are going to want painted. The memory expansion, the extension covers, and these 2 feet. Now, you don't have to paint any of these things, obviously, but if you want to, you can. Again, I'll explain how to do that later. It's not just painting them, there's something you should do before it. So after you've gotten this far, you're going to lift off the lid, and you'll be left with something like this. Now, yours is probably going to be really dirty, especially right on this metal plate right here, because on the lid, there's air vents right above it, and so dust will fall through those and get all over here. That's actually why this piece of metal is here. Now, there is, like, I think 28 screws that holds this whole thing down, and I will show you a way to, like, remember where everything goes. But for right now, we're actually going to work on the top of the console. So we'll put that aside. Now this is what we want. We want to get these off, and we want to get the 2 switches off so we can paint them, if you want to, obviously. So all you'll need is a Phillips head screwdriver. And the first thing you're going to do is there's 2 screws right here, and you're going to have to take those out. And they're what holds the cartridge slot in place. So we'll take those out. This is a rough job. I actually cleaned mine like a few days ago, so that's why mine's actually really clean looking on the inside. It's because it's already been cleaned. So then you're going to lift up on the cartridge tray thing, and you can wash this if you want to. I should have washed mine because it's really dirty. I didn't realize how dirty it was. I'll wash this because it'll be nice and clean afterwards. And then you turn it upside down, or you can just pull these out. These 2 flaps come out. Now you don't have to remember which side they went on, because if you notice, the hole that they line up in is round on one side and square on the other. So they only fit on one side each. And you can paint these, obviously, if you want to. I think that's what looks the coolest, is when these are painted. Alright, so then to get the 2 switches out, there's 2 like flaps that stick up on each side, right here and right here. You're going to pinch them together and then push out. And they'll usually just fall out. Sometimes they'll get stuck, like this power switch just got stuck, but you just got to push it out. Mine flew across the room, so I'll get that in a minute. So there's 2 flaps, 1 on each side. You push those in. And this one's kind of hard. I use the screwdriver to poke it out. And there you go. Then you got your reset button. Now, every plastic part, and I'll go over every plastic part, it's this whole lid, the tray, the reset button, the power button, which I dropped, these 2 flaps, the 2 covers to the ports, and the 2 feet are all those plastic parts are all washable. I would suggest washing them really well before you try to paint anything, so the paint doesn't get all messed up, but don't try to paint anything unless it's completely dry, too. This whole cover is plastic, so you can wash this just by itself, but it'll take a long time to dry. You want everything to air dry, because water can get caught in like these little screw holes and things like that, and you don't want that whenever you put it back together. Alright, so now we gotta move on to the bottom part. Let me pick up the power button real quick. As that flew across the room, put that over there. Alright, so now there is a total of, for some reason right here, there's a screw hole on the other side of the light. However, there's no screw in it. So there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I don't know if I counted right or not. Probably didn't. But there's around 30 screws inside this thing. And you're going to have to remember where every one goes. I find the easiest way to do that is to actually line them up where they went inside the console, just so you don't mix up anything. However, there's 10 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that go through this metal plate, and they're all the same length, so you don't have to organize those in any way. So I'm going to just take out all these screws, and then show you basically the rest of the steps to get this thing completely apart. Okay, the console probably shifted from where I just left off the video, but that is because I removed all the screws. Probably going to need a smaller screwdriver to get the two that are on the sides of the expansion pack thing right here. And I had to clear my throat. This metal plate, to get it out, you just push up on it and you can take it out. I would really suggest cleaning this, because this is probably where a lot of your dirt is inside your console. It's either probably right here or under this whole motherboard, which we'll get out in a second. So once you've taken all the screws out, you can basically, first of all, take this out. I'd really suggest washing this. And then you can take this whole thing out, and all you have to do is basically lift. And it should come out relatively easily. Now this thing obviously is not washable. This is basically the entire Nintendo 64 brain. To be fair, if you wanted to play N64, you might be able to plug the power right here, AV right here, put a cartridge on, put a memory pack in, and plug in a controller, and switch it on with this little switch right here. I wouldn't suggest doing that, but if you wanted to, if you only had one of these, you could probably still use a N64. So we're going to set this aside, nowhere near any of the wet pieces. And the bottom, there's really nothing more you can do to it. This piece probably fell off. Basically, you can wash this if you want to, but it's basically just a plastic piece. It's kind of a pain to put back on, honestly. So we'll set that aside. So you can take out this little white piece right here. This is actually the light in an N64. You can take that out and put it aside. And there's these two tiny little metal pieces right here. You can take those out. They're kind of hard to get out. Turn it upside down and they'll come out. They're just basically brackets to hold the screws in better. A few ways you can organize your screws. There's multiple ways you can organize your screws. But honestly, if you're watching this video, you don't have to organize your screws, because when I'm putting it back together, I will tell you where every single screw goes. But you could take a picture and use the picture to tell where they go. Or you can do what I do and set up the screws on the table next to it in the order that they were in the console, just by themselves. There's multiple ways you can do it, but that's the way I do it. So now I'm going to tell you how to customize things. So, the console itself I would never paint. But if you wanted to, you would have to have it in this state where there's no electronics anywhere near it. You'd have to mask off, meaning put masking tape over. Things like this phone number, the Nintendo 64 logo on the front of it, this logo or this sticker right here, I guess. This is actually kind of a papery sticker, so if you wash it, it'll start to peel off, and that's what happened to me. So that's why it looks like this. I need to fix this or make it look nicer, at least. So, I wouldn't suggest painting this whole thing, because it probably would never look professional no matter how well you mask things off. But if you want to, I'm not gonna force you to stop. Setting that aside, to paint little pieces like these, before you want to paint them, you want to get lacquer thinner and put it on a rag and just wipe down all your pieces and let them air dry. That way there's no finger oils on your pieces, and that means that the paint won't get messed up, and it'll look a lot more professional if you do it that way. Some things may need a few coats, like these feet with these holes in them. They'll probably need 2 coats. This is only 1 coat, so you can see there's some black areas on them. So that's basically it for customizing it. I'm going to go wash this piece now, and I will wait for it to dry. Wait, if you have wet pieces, wait extremely long for them to dry to make sure they are completely and totally dry. So I'm going to go watch that piece, and when we get back, I will show you the reassembling of your Nintendo. Alright, once you have everything either painted or washed or both, now is the reassembling of the Nintendo 64. So you're going to start with the bottom, and you're going to basically reverse every step you did. So the first thing will be to take these two metal pieces, which are identical, and put them back into their spots. You don't have to worry about mixing them up. Like I said, they're identical. Then you're going to take this little tiny white piece and drop it back into place so that the part with the curved hole in it is facing up. Because if you don't, then you won't be able to do this next step, which will be taking the brain and putting it back in. You're also going to need to take this piece and line it up over the AV port and then drop it into place. And that's basically it. So now you're going to have to screw this entire thing back in, which is a pain. So before you start screwing, let me reassure you where all the screws go. Well, let me put this back on too. Alright, so you have 4 of these long silver screws. These go on the 2 sides of the AV port and the 2 sides of the power port. That's where the 4 silver screws go. You have 2 of these extremely long brass screws that have threads going all the way down them. Those go on each side of the cartridge slot. You have 2 of these really skinny, really long brass screws. They go on each side of the expansion pack. You have 2 tiny black screws with a really big top to them. They go right... God, I don't even remember. They go in these 2 right here. These 2 holes right here. You have 2 of these screws, which are the same brass screws we've been dealing with, but they have little star nuts on them. They go on each side of this, where I'm pointing, basically. I don't know how else to describe it. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 6 of these kind of medium brass screws. They go down the sides right here. 1 right there, 2 right there, 3, 4, 5 right there, and 1 goes down here to the right of the light. It would be your guys' left, but it's my right of this light right here. And then any hole that's not filled with a screw, which would be these 10, have these short brass screws that are all identical. So that's where all the screws go. So I'm not going to make you guys watch the painstaking process of me putting those all back in. So I'll be back when all those screws are all finally back in place. Alright, after you've taken probably 3 days of time to put all the screws back in, your hands will be going to hurt, but it'll be worth it because this thing is not ever coming apart. Because they needed 28 screws. I did count 28 screws to hold all this together. Don't know why they did that many. They probably could have done with like 22 less than that, but you know, that's fine. Alright, so after you've done that, you can take your N64 and set it aside, and you're going to take the lid of it, and we're going to put this thing back together. Starting with the, this thingamajiggamabobber cartridge slot, that's what it is. So you're going to take the, flap that has the curved part to it, and put it in up here, making sure that the spring gets pushed up in this little, plastic slot sticking up, and do the same thing with this, more square-shaped one. Then you take such a piece like this, which is the cartridge bay, and drop it back into place. It only fits one way. It should fit only one way. If you find another way, please tell me. Then you're going to screw that back into place with the 2 Phillips head screws that you took out. You should have separated these. If you didn't, then you're probably having a mess of screws right now, not knowing what to do. But they look like this. They're long, medium brass screws. Put those back in. I'm doing this on video because I don't think it's necessary to cut this part out, honestly. You can skip like 30 seconds ahead in the video if you really think that's that necessary. And after you've gotten that done, next thing you're going to do is put your 2 buttons in. Make sure you put them on the right side. They'll only, whoops, they go in this way. Make sure you put them in the right side, in the right way, facing up. Power goes over here. And the reset goes over here. Make sure both words aren't upside down. I have attempted to do that before. Alright. So, after you've done that, you can take the lid of your N64 and put it back on, making sure the power switch is in the off position. If it's not, it probably won't fit together too well. And then you're going to drop the two pieces back into place, turn them over, put your 2 feet on, and they go on. Make sure that the holes are lined up with these holes, because if not, the foot won't fit all the way down. And then you're going to put in your 6 game screws, but I'm going to be doing this on video. If you want to skip it, go right ahead. I could care less. But I will be talking a bit. My friend Tio, I've talked about him countless times. He has a PSP that he's been looking for me to help him clean because the buttons are really sticky on it. So that will not be a video, me and him both doing it. However, I'm going to try to see if he'll let me use the PSP to make a cleaning and restoring video by myself, so that way I can first of all do a video with a PSP, because I've never taken apart or cleaned one. And also, it'll be a lot nicer just to have another video out there, even if it's something that I don't own. Oh, that works really well, actually. So, the next cleaning and restoring, unless I find something to do in my house before I clean the PSP with him, the next cleaning and restoring is going to be a PSP, which is the little portable PlayStation that Sony made. They're really cool. I've never actually had one, but I've played on one before. If I could get this screw to line up in the hole, that'd be great. There we go. So, if you think that the N64s look really cool, customized like this, you should really tell me, because I personally think this does look really cool. That's just my opinion. I know I probably decreased the value, but I don't care because I think it looks amazing. And the N64 is my favorite console ever, so I'm not going to ever get rid of this one unless it stops working. Then I'll try to sell it as like then I'll try to paint the whole thing a different color and try to sell it as like a display kind of thing if it doesn't work. But I don't think this should stop working. I mean, it's a cartridge console. Those things don't stop working very easily. This is the last screw. Alright, so after you've gotten all 6 screws back into place, you're going to put your extension port cover back on, turn it over, put your jumper pack or whatever you had back in the slot, make sure it's in nice, and put the cover over your memory expansion port. So, that is how to clean and restore a Nintendo 64. And also how to customize one. I think it looks really cool with the red parts to it. I was going to make them green originally, but I decided to go with red because we had it readily available, and I really wanted to paint it, so I was like, I'll just do red, that'll look cool. I think it looks really cool. Tell me what you guys want me to clean and restore in the comment section below. That's all I have for you guys. I would like to thank you all for watching, and please leave a like or a subscribe.